Hello folks, are you ready for another daily dose of Reddit? Today we're going to see a story that seems a little bit odd at first, but when we dig down a little bit, it shows a pretty complicated relationship that could need marriage counseling in a hurry. Here is the original story. I am at my wit's end. I am a 38-year-old stay-at-home mom with 3 daughters aged 5, 3, and 10 months. My husband, who is 39, works from home and is extremely over-intrusive while I am trying to take care of our kids. His job has flexible hours, and he does it from his laptop or phone. He often gets bored or annoyed with his work and starts doing things around the house in the areas where I'm taking care of the kids, wants to chat with me, just wants to be near me, wants to vent about work. It's super distracting to me while I'm trying to focus on our kids and making sure they're getting through their routines, like getting them dressed for school in the morning or managing dinner, bath time, or bedtime. He's very hands-on, so he is helpful and involved. My complaint is not that he's not helping me. My complaint is that he is too involved, and his involvement stresses me out and makes it hard for me to complete my own tasks with the kids. I have talked with him endlessly about this issue. If I try to explain that I want to have more autonomy to complete my routines with the kids, he says I am too rigid. If I ask him to give us space when I'm doing things with them, he becomes defensive and mean, saying it's his house. It's not only his, but also jointly owned by us, and he can be wherever he wants to be. He says the kids are his too, and he can be around them whenever he wants. He says I'm overly focused on myself. I'm selfish. And there's something wrong with me if I get distracted so easily by him that I can't take care of the kids when he's around. He does not have any comprehension that his presence is not facilitating things in these moments. He sees himself as extremely helpful. He says if I have a problem with him being around me and the kids, that I'm the one that should leave the room or the house. I have explained that makes no sense since my job is stay-at-home mom, and he has an actual job he's supposed to be working on individually. When I push back in this way, he digs in more, and it ends up becoming a fight in front of the kids, which I don't want to happen. So instead, I've switched to saying nothing and just tolerating those moments as best I can until he goes away. But it leaves me seething with frustration. We have been in couples therapy for a year. There has been progress on some issues and stagnation on others. I realize that on my side of things, I have allowed a lot of mistreatments by not setting and enforcing boundaries around his behavior. My problem is that I literally don't know what the boundary I can set is. For a real-life example, if I'm in the kids' bedroom with them in the morning, getting them dressed for the day, and he comes and sits down on their bed and starts chatting with me, ordering the kids around and distracting me. I tell him this is really distracting and I'm trying to manage all the kid interactions. If you don't need to be in here, can you go in another room? I'm trying to minimize voices in this room. He responds, no, I'm not leaving. Go cry me a river. I can be where I want. I said, okay, then I'm taking the kids to another room to get them dressed. He says, then I'll come with you. I start feeling very powerless and frustrated. I say, I don't know what to do then. Are you wanting to get them dressed yourself? He says angrily, yes, that's what I really wanted. So I left the room to go calm myself down. A few minutes later, he came out as if nothing had happened and asked if I was going to watch the kids so he could go take a shower. I was fuming and in disbelief, but I said okay to reduce conflict. When I brought the situation up later when we were alone, he said all the stuff about how there's something wrong with me, and then walked out of the conversation. When we first saw this story, we thought, why is this wife complaining about her husband? There are tons of sad stories on Reddit that show egotistical men not pulling their weights around the house, so having a wife complain about a husband who's trying to help her with the house chores seemed a little too much. And some people actually commented that she looked a little too controlling of her kids, not allowing her husband to be around them. So, at first, this story seemed like a mere case of establishing a routine that would divide responsibilities between them and establish some me time for her, something that is needed for everyone, even for a stay-at-home mother. In the comments, she said that they had a routine before the 3rd child was born where her husband would work a few days in his office, giving his wife some breather. So I thought maybe that's all she needs. He goes back to working a few days in the office and everything is fine. She'll have the space she needs. But then, all of a sudden, the story took a turn. Answering a comment that questioned the logic of her not wanting her husband to be around, this was her answer. I know it sounds crazy, but that's why it's a tricky problem. It's not just that he wants to do all those helpful things, he also doesn't want me to separate out. I have tried to set up me time many times, but then he complains that I'm abandoning him and the kids, that I don't want to fulfill my own responsibility of taking care of the kids since I chose to be a stay-at-home mom, that I'm not a good mother. I'm lazy. I'm selfish. I have also tried to set up a schedule of chores with him where we can each pick what we want to be responsible for. But then he says there's something wrong with me because I'm too rigid. I should be more flexible. We should just be having discussions on chores as they come up and deciding on the spot. But the discussions often become conflictual, so I don't enjoy that approach. He also doesn't want me to take the kids out of the house alone without him, without running it by him, and him pre-approving all activities. And that's only for during the weekdays when he's technically working. On the weekends, I can't take them out alone at all. He literally says he won't allow it if I try to do it. He blocks the kids so I can't take them. He says we should all be enjoying family activities together. He has agreed to take the kids out himself occasionally on the weekends so I can get a couple of hours alone in the house, but I don't often get time alone outside the house. So the result is that I'm taking care of the kids a lot of the time at home with him around, with him going in and out of our spaces, and often not being respectful of the routines I set up for the kids or for taking care of household stuff that needs to get done. He says he wants the freedom and flexibility to enjoy his house and family whenever he wants. I don't feel like I get to have that same experience. I feel like I am with the family constantly and must work around him. There are a few issues we can tackle when seeing this story. The first one is about childcare routines. Everyone who has kids knows it's not easy to keep a routine going around the house. And in this mother's case, it's even more complicated because she has 3 very small children. Sometimes keeping that routine going is tough, and if she prefers doing it by herself, her husband should listen to it and give her space. There will be other moments he'll be able to be with his kids. It's all a matter of crafting those moments. The second is about the daily family schedule. Considering everybody lives in the same house 24/7, having some me time is pretty important. In this case, the husband should be more sensible of his wife's needs and create with her a daily schedule where they can divide house chores in a way that everybody feels satisfied and create some periods of me time so his wife can do whatever she wants. That little breather would inject some necessary life in that relationship. Third, there's the pressing issue of how the husband sees himself as the sole owner of the house. This sort of behavior diminishes the effort a stay-at-home mom does to keep things functional, even if the wife doesn't pay a penny to purchase the house, since she's giving her blood, sweat, and tears to keep her home clean, put food on the table, and take care of the kids. That should be enough to make a man never question a woman's importance and joint ownership of the house. But the most pressing issue here is the controlling habits the husband displays, and most importantly, his name-calling of her. Throughout the story and subsequent comments, the OP has made it clear she thinks he's a good man and father. However, his constant need to control everything and be always involved in every aspect of their family's lives has been the main source of problems. That behavior manifests itself in several ways, like only wanting to have couples therapy, not allowing his wife to do it individually, or not letting her have some time with her kids. In these kinds of situations, marriage counseling becomes a must. There's no excuse for name-calling in a committed relationship. The parties should always try to de-escalate the conflict. Whenever in a situation like this, try to focus on the issues at hand and work towards a mutual solution that can benefit both parties. Remember, a marriage is a combination of 2 people coming together to create a family, so one should always be open to the other's needs. Now, to her credit, the OP did state that the husband is a good father and very helpful with things around the house. That's a trait that is becoming more rare these days. So, This couple should keep working on their issues and listen to one another so they can function as a unit, for their sake and the sake of the kids. So, everybody, what advice would you give this mother? Give us your opinions in the comment section. If you want to have more daily doses of Reddit stories, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. These little actions will help us continue to build this community of love and support. And if you want to see some videos on little signs that can show your marriage is on the rocks, check out these videos popping up on the screen right now. Thank you, and we'll see you soon, here at the Academy of Love.